computer company called Computing Data Ltd. And this is what we do. There's who am I? Is it better? Who am I? I'm Anthony Ball. I've been a programmer for 30 years, as you can read. I know all of them. Quite a lot of experience in all of them. Programmed all their machines commercially. And in the past I've done video games, disk protection systems. Mainly it's to do with MFM encoding, GCR encoding, I don't know if you've heard of them sorts of things, but it's the way that when you save data onto disks, the clock and the data bits, and doing special custom ones which fool disk systems and make them think they're a legitimate or non-legitimate disk, so then you can check, see if someone's copied it or not. That's disk protection. And other kind of tricks, like laser holes in disks and all kinds of things. Smart code encryption, where I met Donald Davis, who one of my friends in the 90s, before he died. He's the inventor of packet switching. Machine emulators, I've done quite a lot of work with machine emulators for doing like high-speed emulation of microprocessors by another microprocessor. So you can pretend to be one machine when you're actually another one. Websites and PC applications. There's my LinkedIn stuff where you can find out some information I'm not allowed to discuss, confidentiality and stuff. Websites, Twitter, and the blog. There's a couple of games in the 80s. Well, it's Computing Data. It's a fairly new company. It's based in Grimsby, Preston. It was originally, I usually have different companies for different things, and this specific company was set up to launch a program called Elementary Reports. But since then I've encompassed it, so it's bought the rights from the other companies and they've disbanded the other companies. But it has brand names now. So it's Sinister Soft, which is like video games and stuff, Double Digital Science, which is websites, Computing Data, which is kind of everything else. Computing Data, this is what it has. Four main products. Light Tracker, EasyMDB, ReportComplete, and Revenge Creator. Light Tracker is a membership thing for pool halls. It was written ages ago, and when machines just used to be DOS-based machines. But now, because it's an x86 assembly code, which is like what's in your PC, it's very fast, so it runs without, you can slow down the processor, you can run a slower clock, so then you don't have to have a fan on the processor. You can run off solid state disks, so it can be in a pool hole, which is a really dusty environment, and it doesn't break down. They've been running there since 1990, not one single breakdown, never been rebooted, never been stopped. It just runs this one program which controls the lights above the pool tables, and if someone is playing pool, it knows, and it charges them when they leave how much they paid. Yeah, so that works, and now we release it for free. EasyMDB is a program. I don't know if you ever used Microsoft Access, but when you run Microsoft Access, you usually ask you loads of questions and gumph. All you want to do is see the data. You don't want to. It's just rubbish, really. So this program, you click on a database, it opens it up immediately, whether it's passworded or not. It opens it up. You don't even have to bother entering a password. It does it all. Cracks the password instantly, and so you can just click on a database and see what it is and see the different things. You don't have to, say this database isn't right for your blah blah blah, which Microsoft always pings up. It's a waste of time. So that's what that is. It's quite useful. So that. ReportComplete is like one of the bread and butter applications. It's used for doing school reports. It's mainly used in primary schools. It's about 2 years old, and it's already been used by 1,250 primaries and by about 10,500 teachers. We use a language called Pure Basic because it produces tighter executables than Visual Basic, and if an executable is smaller, it means it runs faster because it doesn't have to go through as much code. So being smaller is actually better than being a 2 megabyte program. It's quite a lot smaller. There's a bit of assembly language in it for doing what's called an owner drawing. So say you have in Windows you have controls like a list box, word processing type control. Well, this is a tree, and we wanted the tree to split between names and pronouns and stuff really quick, and the basic wasn't fast enough. It's a bit faster than Visual Basic, but it wasn't fast enough for doing that, so I put a bit of assembly code in there just to give it a bit of a boost. There you go, we license it out as Report Plus, so it's marketed as well as its competitor. So we have OEM it out. So we have the main one, and we have someone else selling it, which is our competition. Kind of like what the hi-fi manufacturers do, Matsushita, where they have like Panasonic, Philips, Sony. They all make them in the same place. They just put their own badges on and sell the same thing, and people don't really know. That's what we do with this as well. This is it working. So you can click on a statement. There's about 45,000 statements. It goes onto there. The user can then go, oh, that's good. I'll change something there. So you can highlight the ends and beginnings of a statement, and then you can join them together, so it'll do all the nice, neatly formatting for you. See? And then you think, oh, I'll copy that. I'll use it somewhere else. So you copy it, and then I'll go to my art class. I'll paste it, and you change it to art. It's the other thing it knows. And then you can, oh, that's good for Faye, so I'll paste it in there. It changes all the pronouns over. It tracks pronouns, so it doesn't make mistakes with pronouns. Like if you normally substitute pronouns, you can make mistakes, whereas this doesn't make mistakes because it tracks the pronoun. You see? No more he's and she's. It just loops around that thing. There you go. What is it next one? Here we go. Revenge Creator is something new. Oh, I'll show you Revenge Creator. I'll show you in a minute. Basically, Revenge Creator, I've done a new editing component in Revenge Creator, which is a thing for, in the 80s, Virgin did these letters which you could send out, where you could send them to all your friends, and you could go, your house is being repossessed tomorrow, and you'd scare all your friends. It's quite funny. So I'm doing an online one. You can create your own letters or have a pre-built one that you can send to your friends and just give them a bit of a scare. Well, for doing this, I've actually done a new, like what you see is what you get sort of editor. So I'm probably going to transfer that into ReportComplete over the summer so that teachers will have a bit more of a different editor next year. There you go. That's written in Pure Basic as well, actually. It's a pretty handy language. There's the side effect. It's going to be used in ReportComplete 2012. Double-edged designs. This is stuff we use for doing brand name. This is the brand name we use for website designs. We use Ajax, Ruby on Rails, MySQL, done some PHP, CSS and JavaScript. It basically is pocket money stuff for a company who do video games and stuff. You can like do websites every so often and just bring in some spare extra cash. Here you go. We've got two main websites, which are Discount Club Card as well and Rate My Prime, which are quite popular. I'll show you them now. Discount Club Card, it's kind of like the High Life card, but for every type of business, anyone can join, and you can. The retailers have a back end to it, and they can change the photos or anything else. It doesn't cost them anything to be on it, and we sell the cards to members of the public so they can buy a card and they can get discounts in all the shops. There's that. It's quite good. This is Rate My Crime, which is quite a good one. We make money off the advertising on this, so places advertise on it, and then we have people going through it. The users can stumble upon it, and then they can go. It's basically, it says this is a crime. What would you pretend you're the judge? What would you give that person for doing that crime? So basically, it's a real crime, and then you say what. It tells you what happened. You do some star rating, how serious you think it was, what you would give them, like custody of 5 years, blah 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 blah. And then you find out what the real judge gave them, and then you can write your reply. What do you think? And this is what people think about that person. That was a crime impressed, actually. There you go. Which is quite interesting. People go around there for hours, and they click on the ads, and we get money every time an ad's shown. So that's quite good. Another use the computers. That's it. Sinistersoft is a brand I'm used for video games and stuff, and the arcade emulation and some other nice fun stuff. We've been doing some tests for HTML5 with Monkey. I don't know if you've heard of Monkey or not. Monkey is a cross-platform development language for doing specifically video games. It compiles to all of the major formats like iPhone, Android, Windows Phone 7, everything. All one source code, one destination. It even compiles to HTML5, so it's quite good for testing things out. And then there's Superhero, which is I did a game in the 90s called Superhero, and I spent, I'd say, 4 hours, 5 hours updating it a little bit, updating it to the modern hardware. Yeah. So it's still got the old graphics, but modern hardware. This is the arcade machine emulation stuff I was talking to you about before. This is an example. I did a Z80 emulator which runs as fast as a 12 meg Z80, which never even existed, 12 meg Z80 at the time. And a 17 meg MIPS-based CPU, which is the CPU that was in a PlayStation 1. PlayStation 1 has a 17 MHz MIPS processor. The other part of the emulator did sound and video hardware for Space Invaders, Phoenix, Galaxians and Spectrum. Now believe it or not, them 3 boards covered around 300 different arcade games, because they all use the same board, like a PC. They just put different games on the board to reuse the board. So with them 3 boards being emulated, then it could play around 300 different games. And this is a menu did. That's a plane. And that's we had a special keyboard, break the game anytime. And that's like just a disassembly of knobs, which is an operation. And you just press break and that's a picture of it.
What does MIPS mean in this context?
MIPS is the processor.
As a processor?
Yeah, MIPS processor. It's not. It isn't the number of instructions.
Yeah.
That's a MIPS processor. Every other cycle it does it's a RISC-based CPU, but the cycle internally is half that. So even though it's a RISC-based, the actual clocking cycle does 1 instruction per cycle, but the clocking cycle is half the external clock. Yeah. Okay. So that was driven at 17 meg, but it's really half that. Okay. And it emulates through software a CISC-based machine, which is that. You can emulate around 12 meg on the hardware, which is pretty rapid.
Anthony, can I just push you on a little?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Increase your processor speed.
Yeah, okay. This is with Monkey. You can take a look at these. We've got the website there. This is with HTML5. So I've done a maze game, which doesn't use any 3D hardware at all, but it looks like a 3D game. You can go in and out, kind of like Doom. But there's no 3D hardware at all. It just uses just a bit of texture manipulation to look like it's 3D and you're moving around. Yeah? That's the same thing, same game. And that starts at a 3D blaster. I was tiny, so you just find out space. I did a nice star field with the hyperspace and stuff. But you can have a play with them. They all run in your browser. They're not flash based, they run purely in HTML5. This is Superhero. There you go. Spare time, so there's only been a few hours. Used to run on an 8 meg 68000 based Amiga, which is the processor. 68000 is the chip that was the main processor in the Commodore Amiga. 60 frames per second. 8-way scrolling beat 'em up. I'm going to add shoot 'em up in, make it shoot 'em up as well on the PC one. Basic idea is you create a superhero and you try and defeat previously created bad superhero. This is that's the map editor from the Amiga. That's the sine wave scroll high score screen from the Amiga. Sine wave scroll, you use a sine to figure out you just add the sine times a number. The radius of the sine times a number, and that will give you your scroll, and you basically vary that number as you go down the screen to have a nice curve. Loads of bubbles. and the scroller. This is the Windows-based one, and this is the code which will draw the high score. I don't know if you can see a high score. Can you see it? That's the code there that draws the high score, and there you can see the sign, the radian of the of x, which is that number there, which gets incremented, times 30, which is the maximum distance that a sign will go down. The sign goes from 0 to 1. Yeah. So you multiply it, it'll basically shrink the number down, increase the number. Blah blah blah. You can have a look at that code, and then that's part of the scroller. I can show you that in a second. Scrolls 960 by 544, and basically that's the code which draws the map. That draws all of that from a load of little blocks, like a jigsaw puzzle, and makes a map, and that's what that is. That's what does it. There's about 250 lines of code, and this I'll show you in a second. It's including all the bubble code, all the game code, everything I'll show you in a second. These are the utilities I use, by the way. Macro assembler, depends on the machine, you pick which machine, just macro assemblers are invaluable if you want to do anything fast. Pure basic, which is rapid application development, so if you want to do something, write something quick, then you use that, and then any bits you need speeding up, it's got a built-in macro assembler, two of them, two different ones, so you can take your pick which one you want to use, and you can basically speed things up. I use Icon Workshop to do the icons, it's really fast to do icons. Snagit to do screenshots, it's really good for doing screenshots. Helper manual for creating help. That is really good helper manual. Instant Rails for doing websites. Rails is like the up-and-coming competitor to PHP. PHP tends to be a bit stagnant. They haven't done updates in years. And any updates they're doing, PHP 6 is going to be vastly different than PHP 5. So there's no point learning PHP. Might as well just go straight to Rails. It's a lot better. And then Ruby on Rails. Arachnoruby is an editor which has been discontinued, but I like it. It's good. Stick with what you used to. SQL front is a thing for manipulating SQL databases. You go to a website which is dynamic, they're usually driven by a database, and the most common one is MySQL, not the Microsoft equivalent of their SQL database. But what you want to know is MySQL. Directory Opus, which is an extension of a Windows, which is invaluable. You can't use Windows without that once you start using it. It's really good. Monkey, that's that new thing I was testing out, see if it's any good. It tends to be a bit slow, but if you want something that runs on everything, it's really good. So if you're doing very simple games or serious applications, Monkey's pretty good if you want it to run on everything. Photoshop, and that's used to develop, manipulate images, which everyone must know, Photoshop. So there you go, and I'll show you while it's doing that. Show you this. These are the bubbles. They're bubbles. They were on an Amiga. I've just emulated what Amiga. I could have done more on a PC, but that's what I got running on an Amiga. And that's a sine wave scroll. Very arcadey. Yeah? You have to have a sine wave. So, there you go. That all runs in a frame. It'll do a lot more than that on a PC, but that's basically what you could run in a frame on the Amiga, which is 8 meg. So there's about 500-600 bubbles, big massive sprite, and nice squash. Got a few characters in there. And then there's a sprite on the screen. Yeah, the whole thing's resizable. I draw it all to a sprite, and then I draw the sprite on the screen. So I can resize it however I want. So you make it big for someone with a big screen, or small. You don't have to set to 640 by 480 like a lot of people do. If you draw everything onto a texture, you can then resize the texture. Yeah. So the game field is a texture. I draw everything on the texture, and then I resize the texture to have a bigger screen. So I can, see, I've only got a small screen. And the whole thing scrolls, whereas it's a bit slow and speaks it. There.